It's time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And welcome to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here.
Here with Barnet Bain. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Depends on when you're listening.
Depends on when you're listening. I think we're on Sunday and Friday and night and morning. And pretty soon we're going to box the clock, and that's going to be good.
So how are you?
Boy, I'm great. It's these are fascinating times, aren't they?
I love it. It's really interesting.
These are really, really wild times. I noticed driving in, I'm listening to AM radio and going up and down the dials, and there's a kind of consistent tone, shrill.
Yes.
There's a shrill tone.
There is indeed.
Everybody is so highly triggered by this, particularly by this election season. And it occurred to me that these elections, there are many other things that bring out the triggers in us, but the elections really polarize people.
It's hard not to get hooked.
Then it occurred to me that it seems as though we're polarizing a culture, but maybe we're polarizing ourselves. Because depending on what channel I listen to,
right? What frequency?
What frequency I'm attuned to, exactly.
That's the analogy.
If I hear something that keeps me in my comfort zone,
right,
I'm flowing. And if I go up 2 notches and I hear something that triggers me, it arouses these extraordinarily...
So why do you? Why do you go up two notches to the one that triggers you? And what's the charge out of that? You can say, I don't know.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what the charge was this morning.
Yes.
It had to do with the guest that we have on today.
Oh, good.
And it occurred to me, I became very aware of this in real time. It occurred to me that generally I become very reactive to these things.
Right.
And mindful of the guest that we have on, I became a little bit more self-aware. And rather than react, I realized that I was experiencing my own polarization, an inner polarization. I was being triggered by feelings and thoughts and beliefs and attitudes that I had stuffed long ago in order to make my way inside my own circle of belonging and how I could best handle that, and shoved all these things down, and they come out at me as these reflections that really set me off.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. Let me tell you what I've been ruminating about because of the last couple shows and the circumstances, life circumstances. This prosperity piece has me gripped. It's really a fantastic exploration, and the whole felt sense and the redefining of prosperity has been very powerful, and I want to keep working with this. In fact, in lieu of the guest we have on today, one of the topics I thought might be interesting to talk about is the shadow of money. The whole shadow element of money. My own reactive patterns. You're talking about the political pundits and how you find yourself reacting, and how that can trigger you. I'm just as aware of the money talk. The sort of these times money talk, which has been going on obviously for a few years now, and how triggering it is for me, and how much comes up of the survival stuff and the whole thing, and the conversations we've had, again, these, having Bob Proctor on and Maria Simone on, forgive me, has been so beautiful to say, wait a minute, what's the quality of experience I want to have in relationship with money? What is prosperity really about? Sort of separating out this conditioned ideas that have clearly...
I loved it. Well, why don't we put it to somebody who knows?
Well, let's see. Let's see what happens.
We're really thrilled to have on our dear friend. I'm pleased to say it's my personal dear friend, as well as a friend of the show. We have with us today Debbie Ford, a New York Times best-selling author of 9 books, including her latest, Courage, Overcoming Fear and Igniting Self-Confidence. Debbie is the founder of the Ford Institute for Transformational Training. It's a well-known personal and professional training organization that offers emotional and spiritual education. She's also the creator and leader of the Shadow Process Retreat and a filmmaker, a film producer, The Shadow Effect. I'm sure many in our audience have seen and
fantastic stuff.
Have seen that fantastic movie. So we are thrilled to have her with us today on Cutting Edge Consciousness.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here to ruminate with you two today.
Yay.
Yes. Yeah, well, we're going to be ruminate mates. Ruminate mates.
And if we're going to ruminate about our shadows, then I'm really excited.
Well, we're going to ruminate about our shadows, dark and a light. I know you certainly shine the light and direct people towards be recovering their gold, their bright, their light shadow, as well as the dark. But it can't be pointed out enough that we estrange ourselves from these emotions and from these experiences and from these beliefs, and we estrange ourselves from both what is ucky and unpleasant, we feel, and also what is beautiful and true. So what do you have to add to Freeman's invitation to join the Shadow of Money conversation?
Oh, I love that. I just wouldn't know. I mean, I was going to say I don't know where to start, but that's not really true. Because everybody's got one.
Yeah.
Everybody has a set of beliefs and concepts, most of them either a reaction to their parents or, just, unconscious adopted beliefs from whatever circle we run in. And I don't know what you've been talking about, I'm sorry to say.
Well, you were in Europe, so you get a pass.
That's right.
Yes,
Well, we were really just talking about the idea that prosperity was a birthright, that there's a enoughness that one comes to. And I know from your work that part of the enoughness, it comes when we embrace the part of us that doesn't feel like enough.
Exactly. And I the other part is that I think going back kind of to the spiritual essence of that is that, it's our birthright, as you said, and that just that we're here on this planet makes it true that we should be able to have it all. And the only reason why we don't have it all is because of our shadow beliefs and the hidden parts of ourselves that stop us. And, it's interesting. My son, I have a son who just turned 18. He's in his first year of college. And I asked him if he wanted to go and apprentice somebody this summer and stay in Sag Harbor, and he's in the money business, and, take a helicopter into the city. And he just looked at me, he goes, I don't think so. I haven't earned that. And I thought,
wow,
that's what I said. Wow, where did you learn that? Because I'm always trying to, shove because, I came from a place where we didn't have any money, and we never had enough money. And so I've made my life, as a reaction to that. I'm always working, and I'm always making money. And so here, then, the shadow is my son, who likes to shop at the sale rack at Target, and doesn't think he's earned the right to even have a great apprentice.
What I love about that is the idea that in spite of our efforts to compensate, there's a lineage here. There's a maybe belief structure that's even that's running, perhaps. I mean, I'm not sure if this is entirely true, but I'm guessing that this thread of I thought I fixed that. I mean, I know this with my own kids, that these things that I react to, and I'm like, wow, I've worked so hard to try for that not to happen, and of course it's going to come out some way, because that's the whole nature of these sort of unresolved and unprocessed, and we and our kids, we inherit them, our kids inherit them. And it's hard not to see that this is also an opportunity, obviously for him, whatever he's got to work out in this lifetime, to embrace the lineage.
Well, what's so fascinating, and I think that, to bring it really simple for people to realize that, okay, so here I am in reaction. I have to have first-class everything. I don't mind working for it, right? And then who is my shadow? My shadow is my son, who likes poor. I try to give him $20. I don't need $20, Mom. He doesn't need for anything, this kid. And he could have whatever he wanted from me. I'm an easy target because, I'm a reaction to not being offered anything. And so now I'm living with my shadow and laughing at myself because I don't like poor anything. And then here, my son's playing out Mr. Poor.
I love that. That's fantastic.
Isn't it fun? It is
It
fantastic.
really is. We have to laugh at it, right?
Well, we come at it. I'm so touched by that story because I see myself in it from both sides of the play there, and I can thread it back to being to the voice in me that said, my ego voice, my negative ego voice that said, "Don't be real." Fit in, don't be real, be acceptable. And pushed away at a younger time in my life, pushed away a graceful relationship with money because it was modeled to me by my family and by my community that money required a tremendous amount of effort. And on the other side of it, I'm also aware of a part of me that felt a certain shame around having quite a bit of money relative to other people, and the deservability issues that come up as a young man about around being entitled, all these kinds of peer pressures and all of the various ways that we create to deny what is our grace and bounty, and we push these things down, and they go down and they show up in the outer world of our relationships and our communities. So there's no dodging it. There's no dodging it. There is a life of making peace with it and integrating it, and I know that is what your entire life's work has been about.
Well, it is, and it's really about shining the light on the shadow. So, I always say you can run, but you can't hide. So in my case, I've been running away from my upbringing, that what I considered poor, not having enough, and running away, and then here I have, it's being modeled back to me. So the only way for it to shift in me and to free him is for me to embrace, shine the light on what is great about people who, it isn't even poor. I would say like my father was, he was just tight. How's that? He's tight, right? And so I'm over generous, which of course is a ridiculous place for me to be because I'm not wealthy enough to be over generous. So, but I can't help. The first thing that comes out of my mouth is, I'll pick up the check. I watch myself like it's in slow motion, like, don't come out.
That is fantastic.
You remind me of, I think we have a mutual friend in Matt Weinstein of Playfair. And Matt had the grave misfortune of being whacked upside the financial head by, who is that?
Madoff?
By Bernie Madoff. And at the time that he learned of this, he was on a cruise in Antarctica, bundled up to go and have tea with penguins, when his wife Janine Roth called and told him, well, Bernie's just run off with all of our money.
Oh, wow.
And he said, well, let me digest that, but right now I should get off the phone because we are no longer the kinds of people who can afford a ship-to-shore call.
That is hysterical.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, it's not. It's obviously, well, I don't know what it is, because before I run into saying, running ahead with the tragedy story, the beauty of that story is of course, Janine then has this huge hit with Women, Food, and God, a book that's very dear to me. I love that book.
And turns it all around because they so beautifully and with such a conscious intent looked into the light and the darkness and distilled from the shadow experience the power of it, the pure potential, energetic, integrated power of what was there, the treasure of it, and it shifted their life around.
And that's the only way for freedom, really.
Yeah.
Is to shine the light, so there is no longer a shadow. And it's about embracing all of these beliefs. I'm not good enough. I am good enough. I'm unworthy. I'm worthy. And that when we can stand in really, I'm poor, I'm rich, we can stand in all of that, then we have, and only then do we have the right to choose.
That's
and
fantastic.
Make a conscious choice of prosperity and believing that we're deserving just because we're a child of the universe.
Oh, so beautiful. So, we go around, and I'm as guilty of this as most, and I look around and I see more and more that there are folks around who are less and less guilty of this, of saying, well, I'm free and I have freedom and I have freedom. And it's such a relative term because, as you point out, you're free to the extent that you are aware of your boundaries, and the shadow holds the boundary.
And I want to talk about that, but first we have to pay some bills. So let's take care of some money matters. Let's pay a couple bills and take a break. When we get back, we're coming right back to talk about that with Debbie Ford here on Cutting Edge Consciousness. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
Thank you. We're back on Cutting Edge Consciousness. This is Barnet. I'm here with Freeman and our guest, Debbie Ford. Before the break, we were all lit up. We were all lit up about something.
We don't remember what it was.
But
no. I have something. Hold on. One of the things that you said, Barnet, which I thought was really brilliant, though you weren't pointing to this aspect of what you were saying, you expressed it as a part of me. So you said something, I don't know what it was, part of me feels this way. And what I love about that, and this is my own work, is recognizing that there are many parts of me. I am both, so it's interesting because in terms of the shadow play, when I find myself crunching myself down to one sort of identity, you hear this when people say, I'm the kind of person who, and the minute you do that, you go, what about the part of you that doesn't do that? I am responsible, I'm irresponsible.
Like the whole rest of the universe.
Yeah, or just, yes, that there's that I'm identified with one part of myself. And then there's these fragments, which we've called them, these elements of myself that I haven't known what to do with, which we're referring to as shadow. And the idea of being able to know it's just part of me.
Well, Debbie's writing, we're going to be home for the next month writing a book on this. I'm brand new.
Right, the fragments.
No, I already have 3 on this.
Oh, that's great. See, we don't even know. I know you do.
Cases takes people through the process of owning all of who they are, the dark and the light, the saint and the sinner, the selfish and the selfless, the poor, the rich, the angry, the happy. And I think, what you're pointing to is really important for everyone, and what you're saying and how you're saying it is perfect. How do we always remember, yes, I do have this part of me, and I don't have to get rid of it to allow this other part of me to run the show.
Yeah.
I might have a part of me that, feels undeserving. Well, you might have it for the rest of your life. But what about your deserving aspect? And how can you nurture that every day and embrace that till it's a balance? Because ultimately, we're not trying to get rid of any part of ourselves. We're trying to bring them all to the surface of our consciousness where we meaning, we, us personally, have the power to choose what aspect we want to follow.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah,
Gorgeous. Okay, so how about a little feedback here? Since I have a one of the most renowned shadow coaches on the line right now. Here's a little shadow issue that's up in my face.
Little confessional for you here?
A little confession.
All right, I like confessionals.
So we get some feedback on the show, and most of it, I learned a long time ago not to check my reviews, but when it comes to the radio,
you've thrown that out the window.
You know what? I become 14, and I have to see whether I'm liked. So I see like a spate of stuff that is unflattering.
I was there for this, by the way, Debbie.
A spate of stuff.
He's handling it much better now than he was then. Go ahead, Barnet.
A spate of stuff. So I just wig out. I completely wig out. I go into, I don't need to do this show. I think maybe I should just step away from it and all of this stuff. And then I settle down. I cool my jets a little, and it goes into the next phase. And then I think, well, this is my perfectionism, and this is my competitiveness, and this is all of my stuff. And then I think, well, didn't I do a huge season of that stuff 10 years ago, 6 years ago, 4 years ago? Didn't I handle that? Didn't I spend all kinds of time in processing and programming and all sorts of ritual and all sorts of... It's back.
Okay, Barnet, what's the worst thing they've said about you? I can't wait.
The worst thing?
The worst.
Yeah.
The worst thing that
you're
that I'm blocking? You see how much I'm blocking it? Yeah. I can't even hear you. That's the worst thing.
The worst thing that's been said or written about you.
Oh, the worst thing that's been said or written about me. Self-serving, vain.
Yeah.
Arrogant.
Yeah.
So they described you perfectly.
It's so good, Debbie.
Yes. I knew that one was coming. That's why I had 4 cups of coffee in me.
Yes, so you're self-serving, vain, and arrogant.
Yeah.
Yes.
And probably a know-it-all, too.
Yes. Smartest boy in the room.
Yes, absolutely. In the entire broadcast footprint.
And aren't those things true about you? They're definitely true about me.
They are true about
you,
me.
Freeman.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And I guess the question is, how do I want to be with the part of me that is that way? And what's really being expressed when that part's coming out?
Well, how can I just love?
Yeah.
If you didn't have a little arrogance, you wouldn't be who you are in the world.
God, I love you. I'm getting in my car. I'm driving down to San Diego now.
He needs a hug.
True. If you weren't vain, you wouldn't be so goddamn handsome.
Yeah.
I love it. Yes.
People wouldn't like to look at you on TV. Right?
Now I'm sweating.
Yes. These are the things that we have to understand, that the parts of ourselves that we've rejected because somebody made them wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with being self-serving. In fact, if everybody was self-serving, we wouldn't have the kind of world we have. But if you're not selfless, which I know you are, and you're giving, if you're not, you're both those things.
Yeah.
So that's what, that I think is what Deepak Chopra gave us.
Mm-hmm.
This understanding that, within our DNA, we are all that there is, all that we see. And whatever we have judged, whatever it is, whatever we judge, is going to use us instead of us using it.
Mm.
And
Fantastic.
I think if you took those qualities that people write, because, listen, if anybody hasn't reminded you, I'm going to remind you. Half the people are going to love you, and the other half are probably either going to hate you or not know about you.
And if they hate you, it's because you remind them of the part of themselves they don't know what to do with.
Exactly.
It's the truth.
Well,
I love, though, that you were topping out right there. So you were you were showering Barnet with kind things.
Breaking out. I had a sweat.
And he started getting all verklempt. He started getting all sweaty and squirmy, and that's the other piece which you brought up. Is the even some of the shadow and the light where we top out because who am I, to be brilliant? Who am I to shine?
Well, under the light shadow is in many ways so much more of a challenge to embrace
Yeah.
than the ookie stuff.
That's right.
Many decades of being in a waltz.
That's
with
a
the ookie
really good point, because I think that's actually an epidemic. It's a lot of people get hooked into what Carolyn Mace calls wound mates. The whole woundology, that we're hooked into this whole.
That word wound mates. That's great.
I think she used the word woundology.
As
but
rumomates?
it's rumomates. But
we're ruminating about the wound mates.
But no, this is a really good point, Debbie. So how about folks who are really comfortable with their shadow piece, but boy, they start sweating like Barnet does when you start talking about their gifts and their beauty and their light side?
Well, I would have to challenge them, because there's still things in their darkness that they're not okay with, and that's why they won't embrace their light. Because embracing your light means that you have to embrace that you're fantastic and magnificent and a genius and brilliant. So you have to be okay with your arrogance, right? Because if you can't be okay with that, then it's hard to stand in front of the room and say, or on the radio and say, listen to me.
Yeah.
I'm wise. I'm brilliant. I'm going to write my 10th book.
Yeah.
If I didn't have any arrogance, I would have stopped writing after book 1. So we have to keep going back and looking and saying, what part of me stops me from being able to embrace my light? Because if we can find that part and make peace with it, right? Because all we're doing is shining the light on it. There really is no darkness. That's the cosmic joke of the whole thing. Because once we shine the light, there is no darkness.
So that compassion you're talking about is the feeling, it's the experience of somebody who is like schlepping up the stairs of the Empire State Building, and you're winded, you land on the landing of the 63rd floor. You're able to look back at the self, the aspect of yourself that is 20 stories behind you, and with an act of care born out of having suffered through it, you can extend a heartfelt appreciation and comfort and empathy to that little self that is slogging up behind you. Is that a fair metaphor? Or have I really stretched that one?
I could have not have said it better. And it's kind of queer, so I had to embrace queer a while ago. But, in that word when we were young, that kind of queer. But it's going back to being compassionate to the child that's inside, that's been teased and judged and made fun of and been told what you can be and what you can't. Don't be too full of yourself, right? Yeah. People won't like you. Don't be conceited. Who do you
Well,
think
when you
are?
say, even as you're saying that, Debbie, I hear it, and I can feel myself connecting with, I can feel the energy of myself being 5, 6, 7 years old. As you're saying it, I feel like that child, and so I'm realizing in very real time on the show with you that that much of myself is literally in arrested development.
What's shocking? Here, I've got a big aha, which every once in a while happens. But so what's striking me right now is that there's nothing that needs to be fixed. Now, I may have said that out of my mouth, but here's where, in the past, that plays out, and I can language it.
At least you're saying it out of the right end.
Thank you for that. He's helpful, this guy. So if I said something, for example, there's a part of me that's arrogant, and that part of me that's arrogant has served me, and I understand it, and I really embrace it. And so if someone comes along who really reacts to arrogance, they may not like me because there's a part of me that's arrogant.
They may be seeing their own arrogance.
Well, and so
you're doing the heavy lifting for both of you.
What I'm marveling at right now is up until like a moment ago, I would still say, yeah, but I'd want to work on my arrogance. And there's a way in which I want to include my arrogance so it isn't so destructive, of course. But that that it actually has a helpful side. Like it makes sense, and that people react. Oh, they're reacting to the part of me that's arrogant. I get that. Like I don't know, some weight just seemed to be lifted off my shoulders, Debbie, just by what you said.
Because you got that part of you is just a part of you that needs love, and that comes with tremendous value.
Yeah, it's the value piece that I didn't get. And it's also, look, I've been in personal growth work for 20-something years. It's also the constant fixing. Like, I do sometimes kind of go, wow, the whole processing and over-processing. And there's a point in time where, Barnett and I were laughing about this, the last seminar, where we really accept ourselves, like total self-acceptance.
We're going to do something called the last seminar.
You don't have to go to
get
anymore.
over it. You're enough. What do you
That's it.
You have to come to the shadow process.
I've never done the shadow process.
All right, we're on our way.
Let's get a bus.
About 4 weeks, and you gentlemen could be my guests and then take all your listeners through it.
We'd love to do that. Let's get a party bus.
Let's do that.
And do the let's get a shadow bus going. We would do that.
I love it.
I will really kick your, you know what.
We're on radio now, Devin.
I hope I'm not talking out of it when you're kicking it.
Oh.
It is really phenomenal because at the end of the day, people are so light, so bright, so like shining. It's palpable. The energy is palpable in the room.
Go ahead.
And it's from embracing, from learning to love the little boy that was like told to shut up, or the little boy that was told, go to your room, and who do you think you are, and kids should be seen and not heard, whatever that is.
Well, did you grow up in my house?
Yeah. But we all have some of that, where at the end of the day we those are still wounds. I call it not the negative ego, but the wounded ego. It's not really negative. It's hurt. And we've all been hurt. And if we could just be more compassionate to ourselves, to those parts of ourselves that are stunted and that have been made wrong, then, the other side of it comes naturally. We just become light. This is what I say. I learned this from Emmett Fox. I love this. You're either going to bless it, and then it will bless you, that part, or you're going to curse it, and it will curse you.
Wow.
And the shadow that's cursed, which is all the parts of ourselves we don't like, we're cursing them. We're judging them. Then we can be sure they're going to show up in our lives, in our finances, in our relationships, in our relationship with our kids, our parents, and our health.
That's beautiful. The total self-acceptance. Absolutely nothing needs to be changed or fixed or adjusted. It's interesting. Barnett and I did a show one time, and the clip we pulled out is, you said it, Barnett, surrender is the last redemptive act, is this element of just total self-acceptance. Complete with arrogance and whatever else, but in this level where we hold it in a space of compassion that allows for it, and there's nowhere to go. And sometimes it comes up and we go, oh, yeah, that's it. I know that. But it isn't this huge burden of fixing. I mean, we were talking about this in terms of the self-help industry, that there's still this creeping in of wanting to fix or solve, which really becomes at some point its own pattern, its own sort of shadow. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. And there's a lot of shadow in the self-help movement.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people aren't doing their own work to work on their own shadows, which I think is the only thing that really keeps getting in our way. But the thing that I hear that, is so beautiful in our ruminating together is the authentic level in which you both are willing to communicate and play. And I'm always humbled by the shadow. I'm very humble. When people tell me they've done their shadow work, I think, oh, my God, what's going to happen to them?
Oh, yeah.
Because a couple times I've done it, and I've written 3 books on it.
Yeah.
That's
it's so
what you're speaking to is so enormous. There's that piece, and then sometimes there's its twin brother around relationships, that we have a wonderful relationship and it's fabulous, and we never fight. So one or the other, we never fight. In all our years together, we've never had one argument. So somebody is so in the denied shadow that they're not even real to the other. We never fight.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a really glorious
rumination.
It flew by way too quick. We have to do it again. Hopefully, we can entice you to come up here and do it in studio.
I would love that, and I would love to ruminate with you.
Oh, we can't wait to. We can't wait to it. So, listen. I'm crazy about you. I can't wait to see you and spend some time.
And we want folks to go out and buy your new book.
That's right.
Courage, amazing stuff. I had a chance to watch your Super Soul Sundays with Oprah. Fantastic stuff. So obviously, people should go to debbieford.com, check out everything that's going on. Or
to own.com because there are some clips on there, and because we are supporters.
Our friends at Own.
And friends of Own. So we direct you to both resources. For more information on Debbie Ford and what Debbie is up to and how you can participate in the shadow process, you can either get in touch with us and come on our party bus, or you can go directly to Debbie Ford, www.debbieford.com. Am I missing anything, Deb?
No, I'm signing you guys up, though, on the party bus.
All right. We loved having you.
Away this time, Barnet.
Yeah, thank you so much, Debbie, for playing with us.
Love you guys.
All right. And for those of you listening, stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here with Barnet Bain. Wow.
Well, that was a great
one heck of a rumination.
Yeah, well, she is a heck of a ruminator.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I love that. Is it possible? I'm just going to sit with this very slow. Is it possible that even my arrogance is acceptable? Wow. I mean, I'm sorry. That to me in this moment, again, what she was talking about, that lighter, you really accept all the parts of you? You really? And it feels like there's these layers and layers. Like, oh, yeah. I love what she said. The guy who comes, or woman who comes, whoever it is, and says, I did my shadow work. And she's like, ooh, you're in for it.
Tick, 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 tick,
yeah,
tick,
because
boom.
the shadow work isn't
done.
Yeah, I did that. Oh, I did that one. It's this thing of like, wow, at what level am I really accepting myself?
The whole of all that is holds my shadow. The least of it is the dark stuff.
Yeah, I saw you sweating over there, by the way.
It's, when I cop out to too much of the good stuff, I know, like a rheostat, I know when the temperature, the climate control suddenly goes off.
Yeah.
And I start to sweat. I get inundated beyond what I have been conditioned as a young boy, as a young man, as a young adult, beyond what I've been conditioned and allowed myself to feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
Too much energy, too much focus, I become inundated and fearful and get ready for. I don't have a container to hold it, and there's a part of me that feels like the shoe is going to drop, and it's like you blow up a balloon, let out a little air. You blow up the balloon a little more, let out a little air, and in over time, my container has expanded as I increase the integration of dark stuff, which is never ending.
That's the point.
And as I equally own what is beautiful about myself. And when somebody says something to me that is flattering, I have to put my foot on the clutch in order not to deflect it, in order not to just move on, or in order not to make light of it, or in order not to go right into, and you too, but to be able to hold it. There is so much of my light shadow that is being held for me in this shadow space, by this shadow space, which is a living entity that is me, that is holding all of the aspects of me that I have not in the past had the capacity to handle, and that I am still don't have the capacity to handle. And to the degree that I am generating capacity to handle it, the shadow returns it.
It does. And the idea, too, that I love that she said there is no darkness. That was so fantastic. Like, two pieces. Two things are kind of coming up at one time, so I'll kind of try to navigate these in my own brain as I say it out of my mouth in real time. The way of not even seeing it as shadow work, but the shadow opportunity, the shadow gift. Thank you, because it's just this. In the self-acceptance, in the level of self-acceptance is the gift. The depth of the self-acceptance is the gift. And that it ought to be different, that right there is suffering. You're going to be in pain right then. Like the idea that you're done with your work, you're the shadow, I reconcile with that. Yeah, now I'm just, floating in the ether is troubling to her. And it's troubling to me. And I've played that. We've called it premature transcendence syndrome, right? This idea that PTS, that I'm better now.
I'm in PTS.
And the minute we start saying I'm better now, watch out, And I love what you're talking about in terms of capacity. My capacity to hold, my greatness. My shadow, okay, I'm okay with this. There's parts of me that, aren't so great. That I'm more comfortable with.
My light shadow.
But my that big, incredible.
Well, how many times have you heard? I'm pretty diligent about it now, about paying attention to it now and being alert to it. This idea of unconditional love, which is as much of a fantasy.
That's because I've heard about it. I don't know what it is, but I've heard about it.
Such a fantasy of unconditional love.
Yeah,
our shadow is holding that. And any time we have any kind of judgment about anything, there is any kind of pushback, there is a condition.
Yeah.
So when Debbie is referring to you expand your relationship with love in order to transcend and include that stuff, then you have reduced the conditioning. And there's plenty more.
Yeah, and with the light,
or we wouldn't be in physical bodies.
That's right. And so here's another piece of the puzzle. My sense is, and I think this is what you were saying anyhow, as we begin to expand into more and more possibility, and there's this excitement, and we're just thriving in some way, the shadow pieces come too. It's not like it's one or the other. They're part and parcel.
Well, we're living in it.
Yeah.
So we can look at it like we're pulling a train.
Yeah.
And that's the degree to which I, with full awareness, I'm aware of parts that I'm not letting go of.
Yeah.
But I've, refuse to forgive, refuse to let go, refuse to move on. And then there is also the awareness that I am living inside an experience that I think I'm separate from, and in some mental way I know I've heard that there is the oneness. So I know there is some relationship at some level, at some depth, where it is all integrated as one. But I don't know myself in that way, in that God way. I don't really know it. So I am moving through an aspect of myself that knows itself as more. And I am the part moving through it that is developing a relationship with more and more of it in a conscious manner.
That's fantastic.
So
that's so well said, Barnet.
That is a shadow piece that I am moving through, and it is holding my ability to be in relationship with it, with myself, and giving it back to me as I put more of me online.
Okay, so two words, generous humility.
3 words, and compassion.
Yeah. Well, I think compassion is, and these words can be played around with a little bit, but the idea, because she said humility, Debbie Ford said humility in the interview, in the conversation, I should say, that element of I'm always humbled. She said, I'm always humbled, and obviously blessed to do this work, to be able to play in this arena of working at this deep level of self-acceptance where people leave lighter. It's a fantastic gig right there. And what a journey to go through again and again and again. Like, yeah, I'll sign up for that, that I'm really willing to own all aspects of me. And that becomes an expression of profound humility, but a generous humility. This kind of humility that we go, yeah, I want that.
Gorgeous.
It could be like synonymous with authenticity, but that's taken on its own shadow play at this point because everyone's touting that around. So I'd like to just use a different word or
Realness.
different language. Realness, but humility in a kind of feet in the mud. It's okay. I'm a little bit arrogant. I'm a little bit this. I'm a little bit
I'm
that.
a little bit of country. I'm a little bit of rock and roll.
You and Marie Osmond. And she is, by the way. I'm not diminishing that.
That's
She's a little bit
exactly it.
country, a little bit rock and roll, and a little bit so you think you can dance, which is everything. And
Yes,
we've,
can we be big enough? Can I be large enough to hold all of the parts? Walt Whitman said, we contain multitudes.
Shakespeare said, I am in one person, many people.
My mansion has many rooms.
There you go.
Your turn.
Hey, smartest boy in the room.
Exactly, part of my shadow.
I like that guy, but tell him to sit down right now. That was funny in real time. But no, that's it.
Is it hot in here?
Yeah.
I'm wearing a sweater.
I think we've
What
already
is that?
started her course. I think we started it right now. Yeah, we're already in
without
it.
the party bus.
That's right.
I'll do the course, but we need
I'm
the bus.
so-
We're not going alone. We get a bunch of our listeners.
All right,
We
so
pile
let's
them
create
into
a sign
bus.
up.
We have some food.
Yeah. Gotta have food.
We bring Spence.
Yeah,
He's coming.
He
He just signed up.
He doesn't know, but he
He
did.
just signed up. I saw him sign up.
Yeah, he gave a head nod.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
great.
Debbie will work you.
She will
I'm sweating
work
for you.
she's already gearing up. What a great fun show.
It was a fun show.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that I'm just going to try to tie it all together in the last whatever minute we have.
What else is coming up for us before you tie it up? We have a bunch of cool guests coming up.
Yeah,
we
we've
want to
got
talk
some
about some of our
amazing
cool guests.
We've got amazing guests coming up, and we've got. Let's see. We're talking. I think we can bring
you
this
should
up.
talk about that.
We're talking about creating a mastermind around a new relationship with prosperity, and
Money, shadow of money.
that's what I was bringing it back to, so we can do it in this context. Just because it's interesting. Obviously, we've both been working on this for a long time, and the opportunity to create a course moving forward to take some folks through this deep level of self-acceptance, to move through some of the shadow stuff into a new relationship with prosperity, the felt sense of it. The opportunity to really relate to our shadow with money.
What does it mean? How do we hold it? What matters to us? How does it matter? What is our relationship to what truly matters?
I'll bring up one of the practices. One of the practices is, we don't call them Federal Reserve notes. We call them thank you notes. And so when we exchange these thank you notes in the world, because we've touched on this, I'll try to do it really briefly in other shows, where we recognize money is a marker. It's not what we've put into it. I mean, all this stuff is projected onto it, but really it was created just to be a marker. So
it
that
measures the movement of
good and service, right,
through the community.
So that we go back to the idea that I'm exchanging this for good and service, and that the gratitude piece. And so we were just at the coffee shop, and we were having a good time because we always meet for coffee. And you were doing your practice. And so when he bought his coffee, Barnet exchanged it with thank you, which is the expression in the practice of thank you. But it's thank you for...
And what happened to the women behind the bar?
This is the point. So in the energetic frequency of the thank you, which is not the exchange of money, it's in the deeper currency or the deeper current.
Exchange of
right?
energy.
Exchange of energy. Barnet was really thanking her for the effort of making the coffee and for the work she was going to put in and for the service she was providing. And the lady just lit up. It was fantastic. And so we were talking about this, how often when we remember to work with this practice, how often we get that experience. So we're actually in our own lives working with a deeper level of expression in the exchange of this thing we're going to call money, but we actually are relating to it at this level of prosperity where it's a current of energy, it's a frequency, it's something that we exchange. And so that's one of the pieces, just as a little nod towards what we're aiming towards.
We'll talk about more in shows to come, and there'll be ample opportunity to learn more about it on our website at cuttingedgeconsciousness.com.
And there'll be a chance to sign up for the bus.
Yes, there'll be a big chance to sign up for the Shadow Bus. That's going to be fun.
We're committing to all kinds of stuff.
Well, these are some commitments.
I love it.
We are thrilled to have spent another session with you here on Cutting Edge Consciousness. We hope that you will join us here again next week. If you like what you heard, tell your friends. Visit us on Facebook, YouTube, and anywhere else that you can find Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain.
Thanks for tuning in.